Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? I have just brought the International down here to the field that we mowed yesterday, because what I'm going to do before we go and do the rest of the mowing is I'm actually going to do some turning and raking, and I'm going to do this in a single pass using Follow Me if I can. I'd like to run this particular turner. I brought the hay bob out and took a look at it, but it's a little bit too narrow for this particular swath. There's a bit too much grass in the swath for that one to work properly, so we're going to have to use this one. So I'm hoping what we can do is we can lower this one down and start it up, and this one can follow along the swath as it is on the ground, and then I'm hoping that the International will be able to follow along behind and will be big enough. The Pottinger rake that we've got here, this one will be big enough to follow along behind. So what we need to do is we need to unfold this rake. I don't see any reason that it won't be. It does look wide enough to do this particular job. So let's lower that one down and start up. We'll just start following it along a minute and just sort of see what it's like. Get an idea of how it's going to be. I can't see any reason why this isn't going to work. So we'll just do Control F. That's on 20. I should be fine. It should be fine just keeping it on that. My question for this week, before we actually start this up, we are next year, with our machinery and everything, we're going to be upgrading and we're going to be using big stuff. We're going to be using new and shiny and big, because so far we've been using old, second-hand, cheap equipment. So I thought we'd try to do both types of farming on the same map. So your three choices that you've got for your three different combines that we might be using next year. The first is the Fendt 9490X, and this one will come with a 10.5 meter header. The second choice is the Class Lexion 700 Big. This one also has a 10.5 meter header. And then finally we have the Rotselmash Torum 760. This one has a 9 meter header, and I've included this one rather than another 10.5 meter header because I want to give you the option of a slightly smaller combine on this map, because I realise that this map, you know, really you do kind of want some smaller machinery, so I'm giving you the option for both, and then you guys can sort of pick and decide which one you think would be better suited to this map. So yeah, it's your vote, it's your game. Head in the comment section down below, let us know which one you want and why, and of course don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right hand corner. Now, is that one going to follow along behind and do a superb job? I'm hoping so. I really am hoping so. This one here does seem to be turning just fine, and it is making this whole job a lot easier. I'm quite happy to accept that this is very unrealistic. You would not normally have all of your hay in a swath like this and then turn it and immediately rake it and it's all dried and turned into hay. Unless, of course, you live in the southern states. Now, I've seen haymaking videos from the southern states, and they literally do this. They have it in a swath, in a great big swath, and then they'll go along. I mean, they're not immediately following the mower, but they do go along, and they literally just turn the swath over, and then it's hay. That's it. That's all they do. And it stays in the swath. It doesn't have anything else done to it. It's like some sort of minor miracle. Now, I grew up in a country, and I live in a country where you don't do things like that. What you do is you mow the grass. You leave it to wilt. Now, if you're using a mower with a swather conditioner, you leave it to wilt for a couple of hours, and then you go along with a tedder and you spread it all out across the field. And if you're using one that doesn't have a swather of any kind, where you leave it there, you leave it for several hours and then you go and turn it. Then the next day you go back and you turn every inch of that field again, so that it fluffs it all up and it can all get the wind can get to it and the sunshine can get to it. And then you leave it, and you might go back in the afternoon and you might turn it again. And then you leave it, and then you go back the following day and you turn it again, and you turn it again in the afternoon. Now, you might, if you're lucky, be able to bale at the end of that day. Probably not. You probably have to go turn it again the following morning, and then you can go and bale it all up. Now, that's the kind of country that I live in. So yeah, the idea that you can go along and you don't have to turn and turn and turn and turn. You just literally leave it in a swath, turn the swath over, and then you've got hay. This is quite a foreign concept. This is a very unusual situation to be in. It's alien country. It's completely alien as far as I'm concerned. I've never known anything like it personally. I've never seen anything like it personally. But I'm not disputing the fact that it does exist. I'm not disputing the fact that this is how you guys do things. But to me, it just seems almost magical that you could even do something like that. It really does. And this is actually working really, really well. So yeah, we're using the kind of haymaking technique that would be used in a very hot climate with not an overly thick amount of grass on the ground either. I would guess, that's my guess, is that you don't have a particularly thick crop of grass in order to be able to make this work. But we are doing it. It is actually working quite well. So we're going to finish this field, then we're going to move on. And yeah, I know that I'm sort of going over some of the windrows and so on because of the way that the one behind us is following. And I think when we come through with the baler, it's still going to work out okay. So we'll finish this field, we can go straight into the next one, and we can do that one, and then we can head on down. And what I'm hoping to do is to put this one on follow me behind the crone. So we can mow, and we can ted, and then we can rake up all in one single pass. That's the plan. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. It might not be quite so good doing it following behind the crone. I know that I'm going across the road there, and you really shouldn't do that with machines like rakes and turners and that. Because of the uneven surface, but I want that one behind us to just keep following. And there was a little bit of grass on the road. It's not going to quite get it all, is it? No. It has left a little bit of that one behind. We'll live with that. So let's go on around this corner. Right, now I'm going to... it does seem to be working. I mean, for the most part, it's leaving it in a swath anyway, so we don't really need the swath running along behind, but there are little patches where it's spreading it out a little bit. Certainly sort of just a fraction too much to be able to work properly with the baler. We would end up having to do 2 passes. By running along behind with the other one, it's just enough to sort of sort it all out. And also, I was thinking that we wouldn't really have a use for the small tractors anymore, and the turner and stuff like that. But I mean, this might be the final run for this, because we're upgrading and we're sort of going much bigger after soon after this year. So we're not quite sure when yet, but I was expecting this haymaking that we would go and get a much bigger turner and we'll be using that one, but having used the Crone Ultima, not the Crone Ultima, having used the Crone Big M to do the mowing and leaving it all in the swath, it does mean that we're able to use the small turners and the small rake, but do it effectively over and cover quite a good bit of ground, which is kind of what we want to do. Everything now is going to have to be based around covering as much ground as possible, as efficiently as possible, because we've got we have an actual time limit. There is a set time that we may remain on this map, and if we don't get this right, we are going to we're basically going to miss our window. And well, there's no chance of us not getting it right, because on November the 14th we're moving to South America. Our passports are in. It's all been sorted, so I'm not able to see what the stories are yet that you guys have been suggesting, but I'd like you to do that again for today's episode, same as yesterday. I want suggestions for backstory for why we're leaving Gorale on the 14th of November and going to South America in order to start farming down there. And what do you want me to farm? Do you want me to do pigs down there? Do you want me to do dairy? I'm doing sugarcane, okay? The sugarcane sort of goes without saying. So that's definitely happening. But what else do you want me to farm there? While we're living in South America, what would you like to see me farming? What animal in particular? Because I don't want to just stick with arable. I would like to at least do one animal. And I'm thinking that pigs might be nice. But I'm also conscious of the fact that I will be doing pigs with the next time-lapse series. And so you might end up getting a bit fed up with pigs. I did a lot of sheep in the last time-lapse series, although that one didn't run as long as most of them normally run. And I'm doing cows on this one. I did pigs on the first one, on the Goldcrest one. So I'm thinking I'd like to go back and do pigs again, because sheep, I mean, sheep are all right. It's not particularly exciting doing sheep. You don't sort of get a huge amount of stuff that you can do with the sheep other than give them grass or hay and then go and get the wool. It's really, that's it. There's not a wide variety of stuff, and it started to get rather dull, and I felt that the footage was getting dull, just repeatedly loading up pallets of wool onto a lorry and then taking them off and selling them. So I'm not going to be doing much in the way of sheep after this, or after that, because of how it worked out. I might do sheep on here, because we did originally talk about doing pigs on here, and we've now since found out that pigs aren't profitable with the Seasons mod. Now, I'm sure there will be an update at some point that will change that, and we'll just tweak the numbers slightly to make pigs profitable again. But, you know, as it stands at the moment, pigs are not profitable. So we're not going to do pigs. That's definitely out. I'm not going to waste a load of time doing an animal that we just can't do, because it's not going to be much fun. Right, if I just stop this follow me a second, like that. And so we've already raked up both of these fields. That's all done. We'll lift that one up and switch it off. Fold it up as well. There we go. Put the follow me back on, like that. And I am going to meet you over with the crone. So we've already done these two fields. These are now ready to bale. And we're going to head straight back over, and we're going to get mowing, and hopefully we can mow and turn and rake all in a single pass. And this tractor is slightly crazy carrying the tedder around because of the weight of it, and because of just how light this particular tractor is on his front wheels. He does dance around a bit. Let's just go through the mud, and there we go. Brilliant. I do like this. I do like this a lot. I've got the two tractors back there. They are lined up and ready to go. The crone is here, unfolded and ready to go. All we got to do is start mowing. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be the tricky bit, is weaving in and out of these bits up here. So if I just move forward a bit first and wiggle on round the trees. Right, hopefully that should be okay. And then we can head back over here. And so yeah, those of you who live in much warmer climates than I do, how do you do your hay? Have I got that right in that like you mow and then you ted, like you do the tedding or the turning, depending on where you live and what you describe it as. Like a day later, is it? Or can you literally like mow and bale up? Is it like the grass standing? Is it dry enough to like bale straight away, or do you need to leave it to dry some? I'm not really sure how it works, but I do know for a fact that some of you don't use a tedder at all. You use a rake to roll over rows from one point to another, and some of you just mow and then go along with the baler later. So yeah, how much time does it need to stay on the ground? This is one thing I'm not sure of, because it's not something I've ever personally encountered. I've never been involved with making hay like that in any way, shape or form. So now the big question is, how well is that little tractor going to stay glued and actually turn the grass? Is it going to get all of it? That's the important bit. So I've got to turn quite sharp here in order to be able to avoid that girt tree there. Oh, it's doing it. Yes. Right, I've managed to get round there okay. So I'm going to come along, speed up a little bit. Is it going to get the outside edge of it? Is it going to get all of it? It's missed a tiny, tiny little bit. But I think it's going to be... So it's basically, we can't turn too sharp with this one. So, but it will get most of it. So it'll get most corners, but there is a limit on how sharp we can turn. Because obviously this has got four-wheel steering, and the tractors back there, they've only got two-wheel steering. So they are a little bit more limited than this bad boy. That being said, this whole thing seems to be working really surprisingly well. And this shocks me, because quite frequently we have all these wonderful, amazing plans of things that we're going to do, and they just don't work out, do they? It just ends in sort of, it just ends badly, basically. That's all we can say to that, is it just ends badly. Now, I know that I'm going over bits that we've done already. That's partly because of the... Ooh, it's a long way behind now. It is leaving bits out on the corner, but that's mostly down to the rake following the turner rather than anything else. He's coming on round the corner, and he's going to grab a little bit of the adjacent row now. But what's the rake going to do about that? That's probably going to tidy it up reasonably well. Come on up through here. Let that one follow. Yes, it is working. It's still working okay, and yeah, I know I'm kind of trying to keep from turning very sharp so that the tedder will still get round the corner properly. So, and then obviously the turner will follow on, the rake rather, will follow along behind that without too much trouble. So we come down here, we've got this other object right in the middle of the field, which is going to make life a little bit more difficult. Up through there, I could probably take that in a single pass, actually. I'm not going to, I am actually going to turn really sharp right here, and we're going to see how well the rake can cope with it. Most of this has worked really well. It's come across really easily, it's moved in the right ways, the tractors have moved in the right ways and sort of followed on. I am going to have to sort of wiggle in between these trees. Now, this thing is a lot bigger than we would like. It's definitely... I'll tell you what, actually, if I go back into this one, I should be able to flick backwards through the machinery, and then we can actually watch it coming around the corners. This one... I think we're going to get through that okay with the baler, actually. I think it's going to follow through just fine. Okay. There is one tiny little bit up in that corner that we missed with the hay turner, but everything else has been successfully done with the hay turner. So that bit's okay. Next up, I know that we are... I know this is supposed to be a realistic series, and I do things from time to time that aren't very realistic. And I apologise for that, and I do try to keep it as realistic as I can, but at the same time, we do still have to keep things moving. And most of you seem quite happy with that, but I do get comments every now and then saying how I'm being unrealistic with different aspects of it. The reason that I choose a little unrealistic gameplay thrown in with it, such as having these three sort of in a train, one behind the other, is just to keep the series moving forward. I know that this is unrealistic. I'm very, very aware of the fact that this is unrealistic, and it absolutely wouldn't happen in real life. Certainly not like this, anyway. But at the same time, it is working. And we can't fault the fact that it is actually working and we're able to do this. So I'm quite pleased about that bit. I'm not going to get too close to that field because I don't want the message coming up that we don't own the field. And this is going to be the next bit. Is how am I going to turn round? There we go, there's a little bit. How am I going to turn round on here? Because I've got those two following me. I think what we'll do is, I know that the mowers are staying down on the ground, but if we come across the road like this, and then turn, and we'll head in over that way. We're going to have to wait now for those to catch up with us. We'll have a look at this one and see how it's doing. That's doing an excellent job. The rake is following along behind. It's going in the right direction now. If we're going the other way, yeah, because which way did we turn on that field? We were going... Yeah, we're going in the opposite direction around the field, and it does actually seem to work in favour of the rake to go this way around the field compared to going the other way around the field. So we'll have to remember that in future. If we do use a sort of train like this in future, we will have to remember that it's actually better to go clockwise around the field than it is anti-clockwise. It seems to work out better for all of the machines involved. Right. Wrong way. I want to go through... Oh, there we go. Through here. Now, we're going to go straight across. We are going to be cutting into the pond a little bit, but not very much. And that will bring us out quite neatly onto this side of it. We can pull a gentle curve around the edge of the field just on this bit, and we can keep going straight down through here. That's worked out quite nicely. You can't go too far ahead with it. I mean, obviously this one cuts a lot faster than the ones behind do the raking and the tedding, or the tedding and then raking, depending on which way you want to look at it. Because of the speed limits on tedding and then raking. It's a lot slower than what mowing is. You can absolutely fly up across the field with a mower, but you can't do that with a tedder or a rake. It just won't pick it up. Not realistically, anyway. And we'll at least keep that bit realistic. I mean, we're straying far from the realms of realism here, but we'll at least keep that bit realistic, where we try to keep the speeds just right for the machines that are following. So we'll keep in mind that they're behind us, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out around the end, and then I'm going to drop back in to run up this side of the field. And then we'll do the same down this end as well, except what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come up here. I'm almost about ready to lap those other two tractors. I'll stop here, and then we will go back through and we will watch these. I'm going to go on to this one here, because I want to see how this one copes with getting around the end. I think this one actually goes faster than the Tedder. So the Tedder is the slowest one of the lot. This one's sort of having to brake a little bit as he's going along behind the Tedder. This rake here, but it's doing an excellent job, as we can't fault the way that this one's working, and it's keeping it does actually seem to be neater on this field than it was over on that one, because again we're going clockwise rather than anti-clockwise, which seems to make a significant difference to the performance of how the rake is gathering everything up, which is, yeah, it's obviously because of the direction that the material is being moved. It's sort of dumping it on top of the bit that, if it's going the other way around, it would just leave by itself in the middle of the field. Right, last little bit up through here, and then we can go and get the baler, and we can make a start on the baling. Don't know how much baling we're going to get done today, and I'd like to at least make a start. I'd like to do some of it, even if we don't get all of it done. I'm also not actually sure how much time we've got left, because I have forgotten to restart my timer when we came back to it just now. We've got this one little tiny bit of grass left there. If I stop here a minute, and we'll go and keep an eye on... Ooh, I'm going the wrong way. Aren't I? Yes, I am. I'm going the wrong way. I want to go there, there, and there. That will bring this one up, and he's going to swing round up there. What's this one done up the other end? He's done that okay. They've both gone through that bit all right. Overall, I'm very, very pleased. I did not think that this would actually work as well as this. I was expecting it to kind of work, but definitely not this successfully. So let's just jump back into the crone here a minute, and we've got those three behind it. It's a shame that they're not up a little bit closer. I'll tell you what, just one last little bit. I'd like to bring these a bit closer, if I can. So this one wants to go up 15, up 10. 10 seems good. 10 seems good. And this one up 15, up 10. 10 seems good. Okay. It's tight and it's close, but I think this is going to work out all right. And if we jump out here, yes, I am setting a picture at the moment, but I just want to see. I do like. I really do appreciate the screenshots sometimes. Just the view of them. You see these things working in a field, and I'm the sort of person that will stop my vehicle. I've stopped my car as I'm driving along the road if I see something really good working in a field, or manoeuvring into a gateway or something like that, and they do look absolutely brilliant. Some machines, and farmers are really quite happy for you to stop and admire what you're doing, especially if you talk to them a little bit and you say, oh, you're interested in the machine and everything. They do. I've never known a farmer to get upset with the idea of you appreciating what they're doing. I mean, some farmers don't like the idea of you taking pictures because they don't want you posting pictures on social media or something like that, because it can result in their machines being stolen because of location and so on and so forth. That's quite understandable. You know, you really can understand that. Anybody's going to get upset at the idea of something as expensive as this thing getting stolen. I mean, look at that. It's the Krone Big M. Although, to be honest, I've never seen any of these actually driving around anywhere near where I live, but still. They might one day, you never know. Now, what we're going to do is we will return that one and go back to here. Right, we'll return the Krone Big M, and these two tractors can go back to the yard, and then we will get a baler and we can get started on our baling. I am racing down towards the shop. I have returned the Krone Big M to the dealership. Incidentally, if you have something on Follow Me, say I had another tractor following this one, and then I either sold or returned it from lease without first switching off the Follow Me mod, it will crash a game. I have had that before. I mean, well, I had it in FS15. I don't think I've actually done it in FS17, but it certainly used to crash a game, and unless something has been changed quite drastically, it will still crash a game. So just be warned, don't try to sell things if you've got another vehicle following it or something like that, because it can cause some major hang-ups with the game, and then you won't be able to play it anymore, and you will have to restart. So, Crone? John Deere. John Deere it was, wasn't it? Yes, it was definitely the John Deere by over half we had more than half the vote looking for John Deere. It was about 2/3 of the vote. People wanted the John Deere, so we're going to have the John Deere 690, and this is the one that we're going to buy. There we go. Job done. Back out of there. So we've got a brand new John Deere baler that we are going to put behind our Ford tractor here, and we're going to start heading over there. We don't have time to start really doing any baling. I might just be able to get the nose dipped into the first of the hay, so that we can just make a little tiny start, but we don't really have time to do any of it today. So that will be at the beginning of next week. We'll be starting on our baling. So let's just get whizzing up the road before we do anything else. There we go. My question for this week is, which of the 3 combines that I have been showing you this week do you want for us? Do you want us to be using next year? Ooh, I'm going all over the place here. That's terrible. Do you want us to be using next year? Do you want us to be using the Class Lexion 700 big with a 10.5 meter header? Do you want us to use the Fendt 10? Is it the 1090? I think it is. With a 10.5 meter header, or do you want us to use the Rotselmash Torum? You know, I can't ever remember the Rotselmash one. Let's have a look. Let's go through the Rotselmash Torum 760. That one's got a 9 meter header. That's the Class one there, and that's the Fendt one there, 9490. So yes, which one do you want us to use next year for our combining and everything? The Class and the Fendt have both got 10.5 meter headers. The Rotselmash has got a 9 meter header. It's your vote, it's your game. Head in the comment section down below, let us know which one you want and why, and of course don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right hand corner. The advantage of having really big windrows like this is it stuffs the bales through really, really quickly. It's brilliant. The disadvantage, of course, is that any slight deviation from the edge of the windrow and you end up missing tiny little bits with your baler, which is always a bit of a nuisance, but we're not going to be missing very much. So we're going to have plenty of hay in our fields. But anyway, that is all I got time for. So if you've enjoyed this episode, then please head down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.